Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Brendan Bird. Man, what's going on, man? Over here in India, just getting this money. You know what I'm saying? But let's go on and just jump into discussion. It's a lot of things to really talk about and everything. And what can I really say? Let's really jump into the Dallas shooting or the Dallas execution that happened a few days ago, like 2 days ago. Near downtown Dallas and stuff. You had a white officer, female, her name is Amber. It's a German name, so I'll butcher it. You know what I'm saying? But her first name is Amber. Claimed that she mistakenly walked into somebody else's apartment, thinking it was hers, seen somebody in it, and instinctively just grabbed the gun and shot the man. Deadly force. So I mean, um, knowing damn well, from previously pictures and posts of the doors and everything, letting them know that if you're a police officer and you live in those apartments, you get specialized locks, while everybody just gets standard locks. The guy that was killed, his name was, I think, Botham Jean. He's from St. Lucie Island. That's like out there in the Caribbean. Um, that's like near like St. James, Cedric and all that. And mother Allison Jean is actually a diplomat. She worked as a diplomat. Actually, I think she still works as a diplomat in of the country of the island nation. So this really is an actual assassination of a prominent of a child of a prominent figure back in St. Lucie. So this should be definitely should be something like a national debate with. And definitely politicals and government should get involved, but I don't know if the Trump administration is gonna do anything. But right now, they did move her. Uh, they moved her when she posed bond. They moved her to, I think, when she committed, I think, the killing. She kind of disappeared. They caught her in Kaufman County, and they actually, the Dallas Department actually gave the investigation to the Texas Rangers because they can move jurisdictions and all that. So this is a very calculated orchestra move that the state of Texas is actually involved in covering up this killer, this race soldier murder, and just in a way of a very sneaky, very demonic type of faction. Um, now they claim that they actually knew each other because he used to date. He definitely swirled a lot. He was a swirler. And there was rumors. It could be true. It could be false. I'm not really sure yet. That they actually knew each other and everything. Maybe sexually or just friends wise, but maybe sexually. Like I said, he actually had a couple white women that he was dealing with. So definitely more um, to be uncovered, and they know for a fact that she definitely have some type of white supremacist connections. Because if you go to some of her pictures that Tariq and a lot of other people acquired before they kind of scrubbed her information, um, photos with people that was holding symbols of white power and everything, and and all life matters. The straight cop out. It's a Black Lives Matter, and actually antagonizing black people of the word all life matter. So it's a lot of evidence, and a lot of connections with a lot of extreme white supremacy views and ideology. Um, But like I said, we'll see what happens and everything else. Just to let people that even not DOS, you still can be touched because you are and will always be a global enemy in white supremacy. And that's all they see is, like Tariq said, one big nigger. I definitely want to shout out my condolences to Mac Miller, but I definitely wanted to definitely try to clear the air because there's a couple people that kind of looked side-eyed. The reason why a lot of black people probably saying giving their condolence to Mac Miller and shit like that. I think my condolence to Mac Miller was more just a genuine person. Definitely as a musician, I respected him, and I respected some of his his thoughts and his opinions and maybe some type of views. Um, sorry, his views in the hip hop itself. Like I said, there's nobody like I know. Somebody responded to me on Instagram, talk about like, if the motherfucker ain't trying to sacrifice his life, what the fuck are you honoring a white man? So look, I ain't honoring a white man. I'm just giving acknowledgement to him. There's no white person who's going to lay down their fucking life in the plight of black people like John Brown and maybe a few other, but really just John Brown, who really laid down his life for black people and against white supremacy. Like I said, I ain't putting Mac Miller as an activist. He never was an activist. I'm just saying he did speak out. I said a mild stance. I mean, he wasn't going too hard because he had a career. They still controlled his career at the time, but he speaked out in opposition of them, knowing that they could just end up shutting his career down. But he speaks anyway. He speaks a little, he speaks. He talked about most white rappers are guests in hip hop, and that's something that needs to be more addressed and more asserted. Look from courtesy of Lord Jamal. Even though a lot of people kind of like give Lord Jamal gripe because he really he kind of get his platform really out of DJ Vlad. So um, I basically, like I said, I mean he stayed in his lane. He made some good music. I mean, actually, his last album, Swimming, is supposed to be one of his first classes. He been in the game for about 6 years. I met him in Pittsburgh during that tour that he was kind of touring with Wiz Khalifa. So I mean, cool dude. Definitely smoked a lot of weed. I ain't gonna lie. He definitely was getting into a little bit of heavier drugs because at the time he really got into sipping lean. He really got into the popping pain, popping you know just bars. He started really getting into a lot of heavy drugs and shit. Um, so definitely, he had some demons going in, really going in. But he respected the culture and he kept it to that. Most white rappers kind of like when they get to a certain space, they start shitting on the culture that they came up on. He stayed very humble to it and within it. So that's why um, I really don't have no hostility to him. You know what I'm saying? He stayed in his lane. And that's really what it is. A lot of other rappers, when they get to a certain type of money, they start making some type of music that almost damn near borderline racist type of hillbilly type. I mean, not even hillbilly, but just real racist, borderline, close to the cup of white supremacy. And his music kind of just stayed the same, but actually elevated into a more of a old school type of style that that I haven't really seen a white boy really do. And he's kind of going to it, so I give him that. But But that's really what I really want to say about Mac Miller in my defense of the statement I put in there. Definitely, uh, I would definitely say something also too. I want to address as well. Um, is this the Vet Cornell, Tone Talk. I know a few other people in YouTube is talking about the Pan African versus the DOS descendants of slaves uh, claim or narrative, and I told people like the Pan. I don't think Pan African is dead, but I'm thinking it have to be more dissected. It can't just be a 100% an alliance, but you gotta have some respect on both sides. You gotta understand the culture and the history and the lineage on both sides. Um, us being Black Americans, we are not fully African. Some of us might have 50%. Some of us might have 60%. Some might have 70%. Some might have 80. Um, some might have 90, but that's a very small population of numbers. I've had that high of concentration of African, but the generalization is we are mixed. We do have different DNA and genetic traits that is non-African. I ain't saying non-black. Black is a concept. Black is also a very generalized reference and description. You could be indigenous and American, you could be Asian, you could be and be almost considered somewhat black or more, whatever you want to put down or claim or exclude. Um, the thing is, you got a lot of Black Americans that don't have really lineage in Africa. And if they was possible, they never, in a lot of other Black Americans, what they look at, they don't have something to call their own. The only thing they got to call their own is a country that they never really thought they was a part of, but that their legacy was entrenched in enslavement that built the wealth of this country as you see it today. That's the plight of the DUS. While Pan Africa, you definitely want a connection with Africa, and that is always a plus in my eyes. You want to reach the source, because that is the source of humanity. That is the source of your humanology, of your DNA. That's the source of your not just your melanin, but your characteristics, your persona, just the way of your core, your being. So you definitely want to keep that connection, but and my disagreement to the Vet Cornell Tone Talk, you can't really constantly just disband or say throw away Pan Africanism, because Pan Africanism, it keeps in the generalization of connection to Black people around the globe, that they do recognize their origin is still Africa, and they still want to have that ties to it. But in a way, the DUS is now trying to stake a claim, and not just what they're trying to stake a claim here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where it's all about lineage. It's all about surviving the next 50 years or the next 100 years. America right now, it's a huge change that there were, Van and Tone Talk was talking about, and it's not looking bright. I mean, it's already been saying for years. Black people is heading down a very dangerous slope in a finances state of mind and state of being, that we might be economically shut out. And this is something that the civil rights generation kind of knew, and I have to tip my hat to them. I actually have to apologize because I really didn't know too much enough, but they understand, you protest, but it's always about transforming to government. It's something that they were screwed from from the New Deal that should have catapulted them into the middle class, but did it still facing Jim Crow segregation and everything else. They had to turn into action, and it was nonviolent, but it wasn't all nonviolent. It was still a mild revolution. You still had armed resistance um, in the struggle of gaining your civil rights and gaining an economic foothold in the country that you really have rights, you have claims. To say reparation or whatever is a pipe dream, you're crazy. Because, reparations like affirmative action. Reparations like us having certain type of rights of government assets. It's not, I know they talk about integration. Like I said, Martin Luther King kind of knew that was a mistake, but it was more about not really being integrated, but it should have been more about government access into achieving and obtaining wealth. That really was the core of it, you know what I'm saying? And fighting white supremacy. But I always tell people, money, you need money. If you don't need money, that's when you have revolution. Revolution is when the people is completely economically shut out with no access to nothing. And the only last resort is to fight and die. That is a revolution. You have to just lay down your life to, as a collective, change the system at hand. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Pan-Africanism, yeah, they're talking about leaving. White people's not going to let you leave, but at the same time, why would you want to leave? Well, China's about to get co-opted by the Chinese. You got some people, Europeans, trying to come back, and now they trying to recolonize. You got Arabic countries now trying to go in. They're trying to go back to old Arabic slave trade routes to try to colonize. So you got a lot of power, or a lot of colonial power, that is trying to reclaim Africa. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, Africans find people back." Some areas, yeah. A lot of areas, no. It's none of that. None of that's happening. There's a lot of countries that it's still kind of rocking with the status quo. I mean, is a revolution going to happen? Yeah, I think revolution is going to happen because you see what is going on in South Africa. But South Africa know white supremacy. They see white supremacy. They faced it for so many years in apartheid, while many other African countries, in their mindset, never faced white supremacy or racism in a huge number or very intense, state of being. So that's my defense of both radicals. They're both radical. They're both radical ideals. They're both ideology that is basically trying to help their core their core people is black people. They're still trying to help black people. But yes, the different radicalism of it is definitely different. But it's still pointing the same of liberating. You know what I'm saying? It's more, like I said, DOS is more domesticated. It's not more. It don't focus on the international agenda. I know everybody was mad about how Yvette Carnell she mishandled the call. I think the thing about Yvette is more logical. She don't really look at it on the emotional traits. It's more about survival and playing the game to try to get what you need. That's one thing I do respect Yvette Carnell. She don't really talk about colorism. She knows colorism exists. It's kind of like sometimes with Cynthia G. Like, she knows that somewhat of colorism exists, but the focus is still white supremacy, so that's why it exists. I'm definitely not going to badmouth colorism, because colorism is still a very, very serious issue within the black community and so far. So, But that's just not the way how Yvette could go, really get down. And can she handle it with a little bit more? Yes, she could. Um, but like I said, I think my advice is when you're talking to people, don't really just be emotional when you talk. You gonna have to be kind of logical, what you're speaking of, and that's where a lot of black people we tend to really go is emotional. We get really emotional while we should be illogical, and you know, and that's the thing that kind of get us stuck a little bit. So, um, like I said, but yeah, I just really want to drop it. I mean, two sides, the Pan Africanism and the DOS claim, they're both reasonable and they both definitely um, come to a good conclusion. It's just both of them. I mean, both is radical. They're radical ideology, but the method and the way they go by is very different. It's kind of like almost like swirlers and interrationists. They both basically are doing the same thing, um, but the core and the ideology is different. The method is same. It's the same. It's to go into racial, but the the ideology there is different. So you have a lot of similarities in some of these in these actions or these thoughts process that a lot of black people is going through right now. So you just have to be comfortable with the thought process and the action and the belief and the ideology that you're going into, and just stay the course. But if you have an open mind to it, and you're logical to thinking to dissect these other ideologies in which other black people may have, you can start pasting your own narrative and within the ideology that you're following, or you have some type of agreement to. So that's all I really was going to say. Like I said, I'm gonna drop another video. If you like, hit the like, hit the description. I'm gonna get with you guys. All right, one.